Good evening, I'm Shone and welcome to A News Tonight. Now, COP29 has opened here in Baku, and as official media partners, A News is on the ground covering all of the big stories from the summit for the next 2 weeks. Well, Anastasia Lavrina and Orkan Amashov are here with me in the studio to discuss all of the day's events. But first, let's take a look at some of the highlights.
Day 1 at the COP29 in Baku. Leaders of some 200 countries gathered as the summit geared towards reducing global emissions and mitigating the impact of climate change began. Welcoming the delegates and representatives, the newly elected COP29 president Mukhtar Babayev gave a stark warning.
Whether you see them or not, people are suffering in the shadows. They are dying in the dark, and they need more than compassion, more than prayers and paperwork, and they're crying out for leadership and action. COP29 is an unmissable moment to chart a new path forward for everyone.
Handing over the gavel of the presidency, Sultan Ahmed Al Jaber of the United Arab Emirates, last year's hosts, called all public and private sources to make climate finance more available.
And allow me to extend my gratitude to every person in this room. By being here today, you have all made a choice to make a difference. And as I prepare to hand over the COP presidency, I urge you all to prove once again that we can unite, act, and deliver.
As the summit's agenda was being agreed, the World Meteorological Organization confirmed that 2024 is on track to be the hottest on record. This year's State of the Climate report found that between January and September 2024, the global mean surface air temperature was 1.54 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial threshold. One of the COP goals is to adhere to the Paris Agreement signed by 196 parties in 2015. It aims to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees above the pre-industrial average. And the delegates here will spend 2 weeks working out how to do that.
Well, we spoke to multiple world leaders on the first day of COP29. Here's a selection of their comments on what they're hoping to achieve at the conference.
Mr. President, official broadcaster, just a short question. Leaders of some European countries are not attending the event. How would you comment on that?
I am present. I am present on behalf of the EU.
But first of all, I would like to congratulate our Brazil, Azerbaijan. This is, this kind of, the world level is class. First event is COP29, but COP29 is like first this kind of big event, not only for Brazil, Azerbaijan, for our Turkic world. This why is honor and for us, for all of us. And secondly, this theme of this COP29 in solidarity on green war is also saying about how is important this issue. So actually, one is our goal is in organization Turkic states also to main goal one is to provide 24 hours for future of our generation is not only our heritage and also is real is environmentally world. So this why is today's starting this event of COP29 is I believe, I hope it will bring an end of during and the end of this event will be bring some achievements. It's first how we can together reach achievement for green world. In our also one is motto is birlikte güçlüyüz. This is also working for the to how can build this green world.
I think we've stuck with funding in 1992, so it's the OECD countries putting up the $100 billion per year, and I think we need to share the burden because ever since countries like China or many countries in the Persian Gulf and elsewhere have developed enough. We need to share the burden together. I think it would be great to have everyone here, but of course all the countries are present, not just at the highest level. But the bottom line that we need to understand is if we don't solve the climate crisis, all the other crises will become irrelevant. Sustainable development, technology, conflicts, economy, pandemics, etc., etc. And we need to do this together. We need to find fair burden sharing. We need to bring down the rise of temperature to 1.5 degrees, etc., etc. It'll require a lot.
Well, actually, there's been quite some financing that has been made possible, and the goal which we had of 100 billion of international financing by 2020, it has been achieved. 2 years later, but it has been achieved. So very often what we see is that on the short term it looks difficult, and we underachieve a bit on the short term, but on the medium to long term we overachieve. And so we see what is moving. Here, of course, the topic is about financing. As always, it's a negotiation, but I'm confident that if we manage to unleash the private financing, so using public financing, but use that to unleash the private financing, a lot is possible. And so I'm actually quite positive on what could be the outcome of this COP. We know that, of course, there are weeks of negotiation that will come, but let us not forget the objectives of the past. We have achieved them. Here, they look very challenging, but we are here because it is challenging.
Well, the president of Serbia, Aleksandar Vučić, was also positive about the country's chances of limiting the impacts of climate change. He told reporters that limiting the global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial standards is feasible.
But hopefully we will make a progress. We have not achieved so far anything what we were speaking about, but hopefully we'll do something better, and we'll do better in the future.
Well, Can, a lot of world leaders there speaking to A News from the event. You've been there at the event all morning since we were searching for coffee together at 7 a.m. What are your reflections on what you've seen and experienced today?
Yeah, I think what we have seen is that there was a very clear sense, very palpable sense of urgency. There's a clear recognition that although the Paris process that started 2015 is sort of working, we have made some tangible progress, but more is to be done. And more is to be done revolves around finance, of course. We have heard different comments. I think that divisions between global north and south are going to be clearly manifested during the discussion, during the bilateral discussions, and it will have some consequential bearing on the final decision. So about this sense of urgency, it was very clear when you were listening to opening remarks, the sense that if we fail now, the implications are going to be too hideous to contemplate. And then, of course, during the second half of the day, we have seen the references to specific elements of COP subject. We have seen gender equity element discussed there. There was a special focus on Trump's re-election and its possible implications in the context of possible US withdrawal from the Paris Agreement, and this talk affecting discussions now and having negative impact on that final decision, which is known as new collective quantified goal. But also what we noticed that in terms of degree of representation, we have seen people from all walks of life, from different countries coming here. But I think that tomorrow will be far more consequential. Today was opening day, but the grand ceremony will be tomorrow. And tomorrow we will understand to what extent countries are actually ready to enhance their commitments in the context of the Paris Agreement. Tomorrow we'll understand this concept of raising ambition and enabling action. By raising ambition in terms of the action plan, we understand nationally determined contributions, then national plans, also strategy regarding long-term low-emission developments, and those discussions will help us understand to what extent we could actually eventually enable action, because enabling action goes to that financial decision, and I think that those global south and north differences will manifest themselves very clearly during the forthcoming days.
And Anastasia, such a multifarious range of implications that we've heard today. What have been your highlights, your key observations?
Well, it was very, I would say, busy day for all of us, but at the same time, we had a chance to talk with many experts coming all around the world, and they're all trying to express the vision of the future world, and they're waiting from the policymakers to achieve the consensus to move forward together. With the experts with whom I had a chance to talk, they all notice that there is a big geopolitical division among the countries all around the globe, and Azerbaijan today provides a very good platform for all policymakers to come together, to stand together, and to think about the future. Actually, I want to refer to one of the comments. I spoke with an expert from Senegal, and he brought a very good example. He was speaking about COVID-19. He said that during that period of time, some countries decided to close the borders, thinking that they can resolve the problem by doing this. They have money, I mean about the rich countries, they have money, they could deal with that problem, so they decided to close the borders. But the real understanding is that if we want to achieve something, we have to work together. And in that period of time, Azerbaijan also came to the idea that we have to fight against vaccine nationalism, if you remember, in 2020, 2021. So we have to unite the efforts. And today we think that the countries should do the same. They should forget about the borders when we are talking about sustainability, sustainable development goals, and green transition. All of us have to work together. Apart from that, I liked their vision how the countries, the rich countries, developed countries should support the poor countries in such a difficult process. The agreements which will be achieved within the next 2 weeks, almost 10 days, shouldn't be stayed only as the papers. The countries should also provide necessary assistance to the poor countries to make sure that they also have enough capabilities to work together and to be part of this global process. And also apart from this, I want to highlight the let's say importance of youth engagement. It was officially highlighted by the representative of the United Nations agencies, who are saying that at the highest level we can have negotiations, but without youth engagement it's impossible to reach the final destination. Therefore, COP29 is a real good platform for all those who are willing to bring the changes. And as my colleague mentioned previously, said, tomorrow and the day after, we will see how the countries are really willing to achieve the consensus in their negotiations.
Because we're having the world's latest climate action dialogue on the 12th and 13th of November, I think those 2 days will be absolutely key. Today was a warm-up, but next 2 days will define and explain to us to what extent actually we should be hopeful.
Well, thank you both very much. As you heard today there, a warm-up, more consequential days to come. Thank you for watching. Please do stay with us for more of this coverage from COP29. And from all of us here in Baku, a very good evening.